So it's now 2 o'clock, and I will open the work meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board of November 19th, 2019 in the upstairs meeting room. And we will be discussing use of town property policy and fees. This is a letter from Helen, but I think in general, we don't need to discuss who's doing what or what has been done, but that as it is now, what are we going to do? And I've said this before, that we need more than use of town property form that we have for weddings and yoga classes, that it would be a long-term lease, and we need to have the map of the property, because a lot of this involves parking and use and things like that. And before anything is signed, we have to negotiate. And maintenance, I think maintenance is an important part if they're using our property. And then I'll just open it up for anybody else's thoughts.
Can I read Helen's?
Yes.
For the people that, I've got one here.
Oh, yes, you're right.
This is from Helen Wilson, who is out sick today. I'm not attending this meeting because I have a bad cold and I don't want to give it to anyone. Here are my thoughts on the agenda item as posted. Our current well-crafted policy on use of town property and fees does everything we need it to do, just as it is. In the case of SPAT, or the library trustee's annual but temporary use of the town property, this is easily covered by the existing policy. Long-term continuous use of town property should be arranged by means of a lease, as it is with Pres Hall, Gull Pond Road affordable dwellings, or as it will be with the Lawrence Road. Even if the lessee is a not-for-profit organization, the need to have a detailed contract that covers long-term use is necessary. These leases can extend far into the future or can come up for renewal after a set number of years or be broken under certain circumstances.
Kathleen?
So, who are we directing this long-term?
So there's two properties that instantly come to mind, and one is the use of our town-owned beach at the pier that is used, to me, by everyone, but certainly picnic tables that benefit Max Seafood, Max at the beach, and also where the theater and Ciraldi's is. They own the building, but we own the town around it. I'll point out that we own where their septic is, but that they have been maintaining it and recently upgraded their septic and asked our permission and everything.
Okay.
So they really just use it for, so this is, once we state this is what I hope it clears up. I hope it clears up ambiguity, because you hear a lot of gossip, you hear a lot of complaints. Many people I know uses Ciraldi's parking, but I've heard that they consider it their own parking and will tell people coming to the restaurant that they can't park there, that it's for employee parking, which it isn't. It's town parking. So something like that would stipulate that, and for them and their employees to know that that is the town's property, not their own. And then with the beach by Max at the pier, again, so it's clear in the whole townspeople's mind that they are maintaining it, they're cleaning it at night. From what my research has led me to see is that the picnic tables there have been donated by Max Bell Vernon, or whatever they call themselves. They've been donated to the town so that the tables and the beach are covered under the town's liability policy. They should maintain the beach, so if we have little kids running on the grass or pulling up the grass, or even employees pulling up grass, they need to maintain that. So really that we have this long-term lease, same sort of form, just stating what we want, what they may want, and to clarify it. And then I may go, something like long-term, which would be SPAT using the town for really 4 days, if not 5 days going into Monday cleaning up. I also want to state that all of these businesses benefit our town, and our town government's purpose is to benefit the people and businesses, right? Every government supports businesses. So, that's what I'll say. Is I think there just needs to be a clarity about whose is what and what needs to be done. I would say, I don't know, Mr. Hort can maybe answer this, like in the case of, say, something like SPAT that uses a town. And in our town policy, it has to be disruptive to the town. And I don't feel that, except for on Saturday and Sunday, that Oyster Fest is disruptive to the town. But if there is, do people feel out in the open, we can hear from people, is there some compensation? Add anything you want. Justina had her hand up.
Well, I just want to point out that SPAT is great, and the Oyster Fest benefits any number of businesses directly, from shellfishing and restaurants under the tent to indirectly in terms of tourism helping extend the shoulder season. However, it has kind of grown up, and I'm just going to throw out there that a couple of things. A gate of 15,000 people is $300,000. So I would like to see some sort of presentation from SPAT annually on their how they fulfill their mission, because there are guidelines of how nonprofits are run that it's a reasonable expectation that gets dispersed to fulfill its mission. And I know they were very generous. The Shellfish Department, Nancy Savetta told me she applied for a grant, and they were gracious, and I think it was $30,000. So probably they're fine. But given that kind of money, I just think oversight would be helpful. And the second thing I think is public safety, because we heard from the new police chief who brought the fire chief in, that it was a problem this year, and that's what I mean by it's grown up. And I don't think that anybody who works for SPAT is a professional events organizer, and it's challenging. So I think that in terms of financial oversight and in terms of safety oversight, we need to do more than, we need to hear more from them than we are before we bring 15,000 people a day into the town.
Okay, do you have any comments on the other two properties?
Yes, I do.
We'll go around the table.
Yeah,
How's that?
and in terms of a restaurant using land and putting tables on it and not paying for it, I think we heard from Jude that there was I think there's an issue of equity that we have to address. They aren't paying taxes on the land, and it's a competitive advantage. So it does been a competitive advantage.
Oh, competitive advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Other
I see what you mean.
businesses, are probably pretty aware that they pay for providing seating, and it's grandfathered in, and it's a nice thing down there. I don't have any magic answers, but I wanted to bring up a fairness concern.
So I also say that in the past, John Newman, who works with SPAT, I mean not SPAT, but Max, and Max has, they are not against us asking them for payment or help or whatever, trade-off or whatever. So I think it's that this is just up to us deciding what we want to do.
Yeah, or maybe bringing, coming up with some ideas and bringing them in. I think this is another situation where it's kind of grown up. I believe Mac was pretty young when he bought that business, and it's just how life has been. It evolved.
Yeah.
But now the town's more expensive, and running a restaurant's probably more expensive. And the town's not getting any tax revenue, so again,
Yeah, no, I think we, and
don't have
I
any
hope we'll
magic
come up, I
answers.
hope we'll come up with some suggested amounts today.
right.
Anything else, or should we move on to Kathleen?
I'd like to hear from Michael first. I
Okay.
kind of jumped the gate, but then you ran with that, so
Okay.
I'll finish and.
Okay,
So I'm a little concerned about long-term use in the form of a lease for most of town property, unless it's for something like Press Hall or something that's really like community oriented,
95 Lawrence Road.
not business oriented. So I'm skeptical of a lease because it's exclusive, right? So right now that's
yeah.
not an exclusive use, although it's primarily used. Those tables are primarily used for customers at Max. I mean, anyone who goes down there can see that. But I think that I think continuous use is still applicable under our current policy. If you read the policy, it's a per day policy, and that can be as little as $0 to $1,000 per day. There's a few things that I'd recommend amending on this town policy. Maps is also in here at the very bottom. I don't know if you noticed that little asterisk, but it says a copy of assessor's map must be included with the application of all areas of the proposed use highlighted. So if somebody's proposing to use property, we're supposed to have a map anyways. That's already in the policy. The other thing is that I'd like to see amended is our maximum amount to festivals, functions, and events open to the public. Right now it says $110 per parcel, maximum of $500. I'd like to just eliminate that maximum so that the board can determine what the maximum is based on the function. And the 500, we've never had, when this was written, I think we had Oyster Fest the last time this was amended, but it just seems pretty sensible to me that the select board at any given time can sort of determine the maximum amount to be charged for an event like that. As far as like continuous use, it's difficult to come up with a fee specific to be used to be general. A general fee to be used, because everything's based on sort of like the exclusivity of it, the real estate that it's actually on, how valuable that is to the town, and so I think it's really a case-by-case basis, and still I think that's covered in our current town policy for determining fees. So without having like a specific group in front of us, I don't know that we should really set fees other than the suggested fees that are here. I don't really have a problem amending these amounts that are on this use of town property, but I think they're reasonable. But when it comes to continuous use, we have to determine, especially, the elephant in the room is the picnic tables, because it's kind of a strange situation, right? We don't have another situation like that where
right.
someone's
So that's what we
donated
have to
tables,
determine. Yeah.
And they're not actually serving people out there. People are taking the food from the window and sitting out there. So it's a strange sort of like, it's open to the public. There's a sign, it's a pretty old sign that you can barely read that says they're public picnic tables. So it's not exclusive. By making it exclusive, I'm hesitant to do that because, for how long and does that just become part of their land? And then what is the value of that? I think we own it and it should be public, So I don't really know where to go with that other than asking them to come and apply for the use of town property, because they're clearly using the property.
So what would
assessing,
you,
I would ask them what they think is fair,
okay.
to be honest.
Do you have
What do
any
they think-
suggestion on
do
what you
they
think would be fair?
I think I'd like to hear from them, and I'd like to see an application. But, I think a, per day amount, I mean, what's fair? I mean, how much would you pay per picnic table per day? You know what I mean? I mean, what value does that have to them? And I think we can have a negotiation.
It has a good value. I mean, I agree. I don't think we need to ask for a lot of money, but I think that it would be, I mean, I thought
It's not nothing.
It's not nothing. No,
Yeah.
it increases their business, and I'm trying to think what else that space would be used for. I think somebody said, well, people go swimming there, but they don't really go swimming there. I mean, you can walk around and play in the water there, but if you're going to go swimming, you're really going to go to Mayo Beach and just cross over and go down that way. But I mean, I've been thinking about this really since a year ago when we talked about buying Kendrick Avenue, and haven't talked about it since. I was just thinking like $1,000 a month, and I was going to throw that out. But then along with that, we list that they've got to maintain it. There needs to be a sign that says, beach tables, whatever you want to say, open to the public, and that has to be maintained. So in other words, that they can't be exclusive.
You're waiting. You're next, right?
You can go.
Go ahead.
Just quickly, I wonder what in Orleans the concession stand used to pay. It's really valuable real estate, and I don't know. Do we pay?
It was $10,000 a season.
Yeah, I'd be looking more for in the $10,000 to $20,000 range. I mean,
For the whole season.
Yeah, because
Okay.
that's a very
All right.
But I don't, and then I don't know if we charge the trucks at the ocean.
No.
No.
No, we charge them a fee,
To operate
a
there.
A
licensing fee.
victual license,
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
And they have to bid on the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Mike's idea of asking them.
Okay,
But
I mean, I
wouldn't-
agree.
I would not be asking for a token amount, and I agree with Matt about asking to apply annually.
Oh, yeah.
Unless the amount's high, in which I would think about a 5-year renewable contract, because they're probably looking for business certainty. But like I said, we've grown up. It's not chump change that's being made down there, and the other businesses have to pay for each square foot of, it's free waterfront.
Yeah. There's a lot of use of town property.
Nothing's free.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending we do anything. I don't believe that, I'm happy with the policy the way it is. One of Michael's suggestions, I would go along with. We have one business owner now, who, is leasing parking from the town on a seasonal basis, and he has a lease. He can choose not to do that. He's chosen to do that. Should he not do that, the town would just have utilized that parking. With regard to these two particular business owners, one is using a corner of the area for a dumpster, which he maintains and keeps clean, and the other, has an area where he puts out picnic tables. Why do I not want to do this? Because I've been in a business now for 2 years, and I want to tell you how difficult it is. It really is difficult. What Mac has just spent down there for septic alone will blow your mind. I think we can put up signage that says this area is a public area. These picnic tables are for public use. They're not attached to the restaurant, so on and so forth, in some way. I think the town should be looking at the parking area around the Harbor Actors Theater building. It should be addressed as this is a town parking area. The area should be cleaned and maintained by the town, and there should be lines where to park. It's not just for Ciraldi's employees or what have you. I believe both businesses truly give back to the community in many ways. through a lot of charitable donations that often don't get recognized. But I am aware of their donations to the farmers market, keeping that viable, so on and so forth. So I'm reluctant to add a fee or a use or something on to businesses. You know what? It's really, really hard to do business in Wellfleet, and we're losing businesses. We're losing them. I'm not finished, Janet.
I want to ask you a question, but go
The
ahead.
Lighthouse is no longer a restaurant because it was not financially viable. The situation I'm working in is on the market right now, and the prices dropped, and yet, it's a real tough thing to try and go into.
Well, and septic and water mitigation water's going to get huger, if that's a verb, and which.
So keeping that
Yeah,
in mind
yeah.
with regard to what those two businesses
Right there.
are going to see at that location, if they've got any spare change at all, I'd rather have them bank on it for whatever mitigation they're going to have to use in the future.
Wait, now I forgot what I wanted to ask you. Parking at Ciraldi's, line painting. What was it? I had a question about that. Oh, well, I lost it. Go ahead, Justina.
I liked Mike's it is a hard town to do business in. I like Mike's suggestion of opening a negotiation. I'd want to hear from
Yeah,
Mac
okay.
that he doesn't have a competitive rate for that property. I'm just thinking about how the Pearl and the bookstore feel that their competitor gets to put out tables for free. I think if I hear from Mac that he can't afford it, but
So,
nobody
yeah.
forced the purchase of the new property he has, and for me, it's not about getting money out of him. It's about a level playing field for the rest of the businesses.
So the Pearl and the bookstore, they're not right where Mac is. Mac is you order practically on the beach. The Pearl has their own set of parking lot, which is often overfilled.
It's 20 cars at best.
Yeah, and then the bookstore too. They're separate. You can't say like people from the bookstore, if they want to order takeout, they're really welcome to go there. That's the whole point. And same with the Pearl. You want to order a takeout meal from either of them, then go there. But certainly, that's you're free to do that. Yes.
Well, I know that the Pearl and the bookstore keep an eye on how many seats they're allowed by the ton, and it's regulated. And then I know I believe the Pearl made a complaint that their competitor gets, these other seats. I'd rather hear from Mac.
So I want to interrupt
Yeah,
because
sorry.
I also heard complaints about the Pearl. That first of all, when they first built it, they increased the size, they doubled it.
That's what I'm talking about.
The Pearl, and then they put an awning on top. They said they were just going to have a roof deck. Then they wanted an awning, which is somewhat of a structure.
Right.
And then their
You were on the planning board?
Right, and then
their patio, their patio got screened in, and then there's tables there. And then the big thing about every restaurant in town that has a bar is when you apply for a license in seating, a bar doesn't count as seating. And yet if you go into any restaurant with a bar, there are seats all around it, and people standing there. So that increases I'm going to say on a Saturday, many restaurants are filled over capacity. But that's not a complaint. That is what it is. And it's nice that all your chums can sit around the bar eating and drinking rather than trying to get a table.
Right.
So I'm not sure, again, I don't want to get lost in the Pearl and the bookstore because I think they're doing just fine.
Right. My only point was a level playing field. And again, if Mac tells us I'm going to go out of business if I have to pay for those tables, but I don't think that's the case. And I think that we have a duty to be fair.
But how would we be fair? I guess that's what I'm
I don't-
asking.
well-
How can we make Like,
Okay,
what's the
this guy
late
has a
level?
parking lot and he pays for it.
Who?
The beachcomber.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Right.
He
Well,
can-
Mac doesn't have to pay for the waterfront either. There's a whole area with public tables all around, and it would be. I mean, to me, it's obvious that if he's using town land for free, that and nobody else is, that we have to kind of keep a level playing field.
Well,
I
think
don't
that-
get the connection.
Yeah, and I think the
just- yeah.
semantics of the tables are, all right, recognize that he donated them to the town, so they're not his tables.
And he also maintains them. He cleans
Yeah.
them and
Well,
paints
I've
them or
always
whatever.
found it to be kind of messy there, and it was news to me that it's open to everybody because it's always completely full with an old sign, and the trash is up and
Well, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what we will
can
make it
address that.
clear in the paper that you know the beach, including the beach around the table, French fries on the ground have to be cleaned up.
He's a businessman. I want to hear from him that it's not
Okay,
worth.
but we also need to be
worth money.
prepared as a group.
Right.
As a group, we need to, as a committee, we need to be prepared to then discuss with him what we hear, even if it's unfounded, what we hear and what he wants to respond with. So
Well,
this is a preparation for talking and
Right. I
negotiating.
may be a minority here. To me, it seems like it's prime real estate that is used without charge. I think it's a detail who owns the tables, and because it's so full, town land can't really be used very easily by non-customers, and it looks visually like part of the restaurant. So it's a valuable piece of real estate, and I think it's reasonable to request an annual fee for it.
Okay, so what fee, so you're, okay, so Mike is saying a certain fee, and Mike is saying kind of a lower fee, you're saying a higher fee, so that's what we have to
Off the
negotiate.
top of my head, I'm saying 10,000.
A season.
Yeah, and that's not
yeah.
based on any business
That's-
logic.
yeah.
So, but that to me seems like a reasonable rent for.
Alright.
I don't know how many months he's open, but
Okay, so if we can clean this up, and then I'll let Mr. Hort talk.
I was just gonna ask a question.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
No, I was just gonna, if you can settle whether you think that it can be handled, whether it's, I think even if, Kathleen would not like to charge them anything, I think maybe if we even charge them like just $50 or something like that, a minimal fee, but would you prefer it to be a lease, or do you think it can be covered under the use of town-owned property?
Well, I agree with Mike in that. I thought of that because Helen last week said she wants a contract. And I said, well, that's exclusivity, and then nobody can go on that beach. That beach becomes theirs.
Yeah.
So I agree with Mike that a lease means that is their property then. So-
Everybody good with that then? That
Yes.
if we did anything, it would be a use of
Yeah.
town-owned property?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, Kathleen, are you saying yes? Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
We heard you though that you don't want to charge it.
I-
well, and I think with regard to the beachcomber, I think one of the reasons that we did do a lease there is because we wanted to walk away from our liability
Yeah.
issues
And maintenance,
that
yeah.
existed there,
Yeah.
and maintenance. And it's not ours anymore. It's, but with regard to these two particular situations, they are not something we should be leasing out or giving away, no matter what the cost is. I think we should be making it known to the public, our visitors, our residents, that everything around the Harbor Actors building is town parking, and the picnic tables are sitting on a town beach.
Yes, agreed. Before I lose my thought, does anyone know, especially Mr. Hort, when it comes to something like Oyster Fest, or I certainly know there's lots of issues with parking down at the pier, and that may become a whole nother thing in the future, but how much, so I was told that the DPW gladly stores the picnic tables out on their property, and that they gladly bring them down come spring, and that employees of Max helps them with the tables, actually gets in the trucks and helps to deposit them all.
To my knowledge, that's how it's been done.
So,
Yeah.
any other, between everything, any other, like DPW, police, fire, any kind of maintenance that we're not being reimbursed for, or that is requiring too much maintenance, especially say from the DPW. And I'm not talking about like the garbage cans that everybody fills that weren't necessarily at a
I
restaurant.
don't think so, not that I
Okay.
can think of.
Okay.
It's not like anybody's getting an advantage because the DPW is specifically helping them out or
Yeah.
emptying their garbage. so.
Okay, no complaints from DPW or police or fire. Mike?
I just want to say that about, whether we leverage a fee or not, there still has to be some application for use of town property for a dumpster or the tables.
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, if we're charging like people to swim in the pond or whatever, certain rates, certainly we can charge a business something. I don't know exactly what that is, and it's determined on per use, and I would like to hear what they think would be a fair amount based on what they sort of get out of the deal. I already said that. I don't want to reiterate what I've already said, but the other thing is like clearly, like a food truck's a good example. I'm sure they would love to put 15 tables down at the beach. We don't let them do that.
Right.
And I'm sure they would even donate 15 tables.
Yeah.
Because there would be the value of people going up and sitting at those tables to eat the food truck food rather than going up and down a dune or whatever. People go have lunch on them or whatever. So there would be there would be inherent value in them donating 15 tables to the town to put at the beach parking lot for people to sit and eat, right? So, I don't think this is any different.
Right.
And so I think it's fair to ask them, what do you think is fair, and then and why. We can come up with a number, but I think we're just kind of shooting in the dark.
It's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'd like to hear from them. But I think it's important that anyone who's using town property at all, like I wouldn't go store my trailer in the sand pit across the street from my gear yard, but you probably could.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing, and then I just want to list what we want covered, and then we'll move on to talking.
10 grand
with
is
them.
$1,400 a month. I think
how
that
many?
land.
No, how many months do you have it?
Well, May, June, July, August, September, October.
Okay,
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, it's a bargain at that.
Okay.
They don't open until June 1st.
All right. Well, June, July, August, September, October. It's 5
Okay.
months. It's $2 grand a
Alright.
month. It's like I know that it's tough business
Yeah.
conditions.
So I
but-
hear what everyone's saying. I think
Yeah.
we all hear what everyone's saying.
Yeah.
So, okay, so just to go over things, we need to discuss and negotiate with people, with businesses that use town property for long-term use. We will have a form created that will cover safety issues, dumpsters, signs that say public parking, public beach, that have to be maintained by the business, cleanliness around the business and especially on town property, so not just, and make sure that the egress is good. I know that there's like some flower boxes and stuff and whatever, that there, and, okay, so let me go over that, signs.
Signs shouldn't be on them, they should be on us.
No, because,
We're able to make signs.
Yes.
It's not a big deal. We can make the signs. And
Yeah,
put them up, so.
DPW should be doing the signs.
yeah, and then, but they have to maintain them, because I don't know, again, their employees have to be aware that this is town-owned property, and that if there's any maintenance of beach grass, dune grass, maintenance of the coastline, of the beach, that was there before, that they can't change the perimeter of their property. They can't change their land without, again, notifying us or requesting it.
It's not their property.
I'm saying they can't change it if they're there. I mean, that was one of the complaints I heard, that one of the employees went out and tore up all the dune grass that was protecting the beach. I don't know.
It was documented.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
So
It was a while
90s.
ago. It was like,
I think it was the 90s.
Yeah, Yeah, when they first got it, they tore that up. So there's got to be some agreed maintenance, and that all these points have to be covered and agreed to by the business.
So,
We're going to negotiate with them and charge something more than nothing.
but I just have a question.
Okay.
So, what you're talking about is just a different use of town property form, but still
Yes.
falling under the same policy for our use of town property.
Yes, because that form is going to have, although it could work for everybody, is going to have, so I want, the businesses and their employees need to acknowledge their use of it. So one of the things is that people need to know that this is the map, this is the town property, this is the perimeter of the town property. This is, your 10 feet going into that, but this is where ours start. This is where your dumpster is. No, my dumpster's not on town property. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. So that they have to acknowledge their responsibility.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Can I say one
Yes.
thing? So in here, under other conditions, it says, as a condition of approving any application, the town, in its sole discretion, may impose such additional conditions as it determines are reasonably necessary to protect the interest of the town.
We already have it.
So that's
Yeah.
already in there?
Yeah.
So I think the only thing we would need to do is write continuous on
Yes.
this form.
And then,
Because the
yeah.
form that they fill out, I mean, it's still going to be a basic form. Just say continuous use on the top.
Yeah,
Right?
or-
I mean, is there some, because I think this other conditions here gives us the sort of leeway to base everything on any particular application for continuous use, right? So if you're like saying, this property, we want a sign right here, and we want this right there, and we want to know, that we want written documentation that you're gonna maintain because of these issues in the past. We can add those onto any particular applicant as long as we are leaving it open like what the other conditions
Yeah.
are in here. Does
And
that make
that,
sense?
and that with this, that you've got there, like in our form, there'll be like lines, do you know what I'm saying? Like, there'll be like,
Yeah.
what do you need? Porta potties, blah, 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 chairs, blah, like, we will have a listing of what they need and what we need from them.
Right.
It will,
Is that much?
Enumerate it.
Is that included in the use of town property form right now, or do we have a copy?
I
I
didn't,
think we can flesh it out a little
We
bit.
can
Yeah.
just like
It's
sort
been
Yeah.
the
of
same.
adapt it, but
Yeah.
Use
basically
the same form, and
Yeah.
you can check a box saying that this is a one-time use.
It
Or
could tweak,
continuous.
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And that it could be, again, it would be maybe different print, different colors, so the secretaries can tell the difference. I'm not gonna go there, trying to get Courtney to laugh. But that, they're kind of distinctive for long-term. So before Justina goes, do we wanna do this on an annual basis or 2 years, 5 years? I'm sure the businesses would prefer a 2 to 5 year thing, just for ease of mind.
2 years, yeah, 2 years.
I would say 1 year for the first year.
Yeah, but they've all been there for a long time. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
they're
we
not
haven't
gonna-
had new signage, keeping the trash cleaner.
They're gonna do it. Yeah.
Well, I don't feel
They've
comfortable with
been doing
that,
it,
because there wouldn't be a problem if
Yeah,
we
but if
had
they
one.
already have if they have already agreed to doing it, and they're
Well-
not doing it, then we can just say during the middle of the year, we can say in January, by the way, your dumpster is emptied, or these signs aren't, or something. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter.
I'd prefer it to be annual. I mean, it's
Yeah.
our property. We require annual liquor license renewals. They've been there for years. I mean, I prefer it to be an annual thing. I mean, it's not like we're saying you're
Yeah.
not going to get it.
Okay.
I mean,
Right.
everything
should-
that applies.
It's like a business license.
What
Yeah.
is it with shellfish? It's
That's a different
you
situation.
think that's
Yeah.
different? I mean, I'd be
It's a
comfortable
state.
with first year goes great, they earn 5 years, but I'll defer to the.
No, that's a good point. That
Not all
liquor
shellfish
and
licenses are on public property.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's a license issue. It's a state requirement. Anyways,
So what do you think? It should be annual?
annual. I just think it should be annual.
If it's annual, they
come in
just-
before the board and apply for use.
They
of
could
town
be in and out
property.
in
I mean,
20 minutes,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and we all
You
could
know,
feel
and
good
then-
together.
So we have 4 of us here. Who votes for annual renewal? I don't have a strong feeling. Who votes against it? Who abstains?
What is, Kathleen, what do you think?
We're both, I'm kind of tending with Kathleen too, so it's kind
Oh,
of a
every
draw.
2 years.
Every
you
two,
know,
I'm
yeah,
fine
I
with
mean,
that.
it's just,
Yeah, I mean, it's a
Annual or
big
2
deal,
years, that's
you
fine
know.
with me.
this guy's got a lot to do, you know.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah, so let's do that at first and just see how it goes.
okay.
All right, so can we have Mr. Hort
Yep.
draw up something and he can actually make an appointment? Do we feel comfortable with him talking to the owners, or do we want to come in for a work meeting with them?
for
I
fee,
would-
we do.
What I would like to see us do for transparency reasons is, now that we've had this work meeting, put this on our agenda, select board agenda. Let Mr. Hay and Mr. Ciraldi weigh in front of the public, and we can state our concerns, what we've come up with here today, and allow the public to also weigh in.
Sounds
Agreed.
good.
Does that fly with everybody?
That
Yep.
flies.
I
Yes.
feel like I'm teacher, sorry. Are we thinking this covers Oyster Fest? Because I have Oyster Fest concerns to bring up.
So-
I think
Continuous.
Michelle's coming in to see us
Yeah.
when in December.
All right, here's what I want, here's what I recommend for Oyster Fest. Number one, in the policy it says, activities were not detrimental to public safety. I don't want to pick on them for a single safety problem with the security company, but it happened, and it's like 15,000 people or whatever it was. Gee, what could go wrong? And secondly, they get to serve alcohol, which is an exception. I'd like to see.
No, other people
I
use
thought
the
I read
town
in that
property.
said town property, you can't use liquor under the big or under the hot tent.
No, you
Wrong?
can get permission.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can get
but they've gotten
permission.
permission to
Yes,
do
yeah.
alcohol.
So like an event gets,
But in the implicit in getting permission is a commitment that it's gonna go smoothly.
they know that. I mean, they're, you
Well,
know, yeah.
I feel a fiduciary responsibility now that they've grown up and they're so big, and they did say, let's have Oyster Fest week, that we have pre-planning with security, with the police there, with insurance.
That's already
Which
in the
which
works.
they
Yeah.
do,
That's in the works,
except
yeah.
for that the guy calls in sick.
And then I'd like to see a presentation of where the gate goes, because they are a nonprofit, and there are guidelines on how much nonprofits are supposed to disperse. And I would feel great seeing a pie chart or any kind of presentation they wanted to
So
make.
they bring that in every year.
But they don't give me the big picture.
Okay, so that you can ask them. They're coming.
Right. I hear,
2
well, we
weeks a
gave
week.
the 10,000 here and 20 here, but it's grown up money now with,
Well, the
hundreds of thousands of dollars a year being generated in the gate. I'd like to know,
I think
what
you're
the
gonna
plans
see
are.
some significant donation, yet once again to the maintenance dredging fund. I mean,
well,
I don't
what
want,
I'd like
so
to
we
see,
could- we
the
could-
guidelines I looked up had a percentage of donations that are supposed to be given to groups that fulfill the mission, and it was something like 60%. And I just want to know how all of that 20,000 here, 30 there adds
Yeah.
up.
They have it, and we'll have them. Maybe you could tell them that we want to.
Right.
That Justina wants to scrutinize the budget.
It's more like I want to hear them say to us,
I know.
here's our mission.
And they do, you know,
how-
I hear exactly what you're
I mean,
saying,
they're
that it
doing
should be,
great
again,
things.
if they are, but
And-
that it should be, again,
If they're not going to be charged anything, I want to hear where the money's going.
well, that they do donate to the town, and they have donated to events in the town, they've donated to the shellfisher people, and so, but again, it could be nailed down so that it's a little bit more comfortable for the town to know exactly where the
Right,
money's
right,
going and what their plans are, so
And
I
hear,
agree.
I
So
hear they
we'll
just
be-
gave, excuse me, Jen.
Yeah.
I hear they just gave a great marketing presentation, which I wasn't able to attend. So I would just like a check-in.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
a, gee, you've been bad. But if they're going to be using town property, are we comfortable that they're not charged? Do we feel that it's
Yeah.
appropriate given all the good works they do? Or I don't have an answer to that. I'm just...
Do you have any idea how they do donate to the town? In the past, they 4 years that you've been here, what
I
they've
don't-
donated
I
to.
couldn't give
I
you
know,
that.
I know that they got, when the Vibrio came 3 years ago, that they did have a small fund to help out some shellfish people. But that was part of the town's request, is that they start a fund for a day when there could be some kind of a problem with that. But so this will come before we will ask all these questions.
And Nancy told me that they've given,
Yeah.
she applied and got 30 for the shellfishing. And my impression of everyone I've met from SPAT is that all they want to do is do good. So I'm not picking
Yeah.
on them. I just think that the festival's gotten big enough that some oversight is appropriate.
You know, all we need is a rainy weekend, and
It does take care of it, but
so, but that's it. I mean, and, yeah. So I agree. I hear what you're saying. And will you tell
I'll tell Michelle.
Michelle that we really would like to know, and maybe
have.
have some kind of even a commitment of a percentage of what goes back to helping, be it a food pantry or,
Anything that fulfills their
anything.
mission.
yeah. I'm not gonna bring up sharks. Okay, Kathleen.
Through you to Mr. Hort, am I incorrect in thinking, they cover the, extra detail costs with the, Wellfleet Police Department?
Yes.
And fire,
Yeah,
yeah.
and fire.
And
That's not on,
DPW.
And
not on our
DPW,
dime?
yeah.
No.
None of that's on our
Yeah,
dime.
yeah.
Just, as another sidebar with regard to their donating, all the cans that were collected at this particular Oyster Fest, I forget what the number is, it's huge. The recycling money that came from that went to Sustainable Cape Cod,
Yeah.
a really good, group that's
Yep.
doing, stuff.
Yeah.
So-
No, I thought the Oyster Fest this year was fabulous. It reminded
Yeah.
me of how great our town is and all the volunteers and other people that worked hard to make it a success. I think thousands and thousands and thousands of oysters got opened. It's a great look for the town, and I want to hear all the good
Yeah.
works that's going on.
Yeah, so we'll have that, good.
But they come to us anyway to
Yeah.
for a debrief, but yeah.
Mike?
so about lifting the $500 maximum that
Yes,
we can.
yeah.
Can we?
Yeah, we
Can
could
we
look
make-
at that and delete that, I agree. I don't know why we have a maximum.
Well, it's
You know-
probably from when this was first written, and $500 seemed like an adequate amount. You know?
So it's funny because I gave Justina or Kathleen my thing, and I'm looking at the thing that
Oh.
I had printed out, and the third page didn't get printed out, so I don't have what you have. Let me look at yours. Did you get it? You didn't get it.
Janet, I have an
I
extra
don't
copy
know.
of
So,
it.
and we can look, yeah, so at their meeting, select board, festivals, yeah, $100 per part, yeah. So,
The other thing is.
so does everybody feel comfortable just deleting 500 maximum for now
Yeah.
and leaving it open?
Or just
This
leave it the way it
asterisk.
is and we talk to them and see what
Well-
we adjust it to.
Well,
Yeah, but
this
max,
isn't
if it's,
specific for the Oyster Fest, but
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
it's just like we can only charge a maximum of $500, even if like the circus came to town.
Right, so you wanna
know,
lift that?
I just
Yeah.
would like the board to be able to determine what the maximum is on a
Okay,
specific event.
so on the 500 thing, just to, just put in to be determined?
you could just say
You would-
$110 per parcel.
well, even per day or something.
Well, that is per day. It's per parcel per day of
Doesn't-
the function.
Does it say per day?
Well, it's
It doesn't.
the whole thing is per day, but then the 110 is per parcel, which is kind of strange. But
We will be
That's the
bringing
area.
the rest of the town fees back to you.
Yeah,
sure.
So why don't we come up with something for you? Because if you just say 110 per parcel, that sounds like that's the fee, period.
yeah.
That there is no fee greater than that. So
maximum to be determined or something.
we'll come back with you
Yeah.
for
Sure,
the wording
that's
on a
fine.
motion when we do
That's
that.
fine. I just
Yeah.
felt like 500 was kind of limiting the board to like what they could charge. But if we don't want to have an event just because they're not paying enough, because we've only can charge 500, and then the other thing I was thinking when looking over this that I would like to potentially change. I'm not sure about it, but it says events exempt from fees. And that's all town-sponsored events, fundraisers for the town. And then it says nonprofit, not-for-profit events and political gatherings or protests. And I have no problem with these being exempt from fees, but I don't know if they should say this says that they are exempt from fees, like that we cannot
Make the
Yeah.
determination.
make the
Right.
determination. So I would like to just have it say may be exempt from fees.
Right.
Well,
But actually, a lot of those things I think should be. So I'm not so.
well, so
Yeah, I don't
I was
think- I
looking
don't
at
think
that
it's
too.
need to-
Maybe we don't need
Yeah.
to change it.
If it's not broken,
Well, it's just if you want to charge Oyster Fest something,
I'd be
Let's
comfortable.
say.
Yep.
but it's a not-for-profit. Right now, it says they're exempt from fees in this policy.
Further on,
For
there's
what it's
something
worth.
where it does say it's town committees, town departments. Yeah,
Yeah,
are exempt. I didn't see, it's funny, where did you get this? Is this a
It
new?
was in your packet.
It's the last page,
All right,
though.
so I didn't print, oh, sorry.
that's okay. That's all right. I can just erase it.
Okay, so I just didn't see that part, so,
Here, Janet.
Yeah. So.
okay.
So yeah, basically what it says here right now in our policy is that not-for-profit events are exempt from fees. That's our policy right now.
Well, it may be a problem of wording. Sorry, Jim, I talked
no, there's
without
one-
permission.
there's one-
But it says, it distinguishes earlier between nonprofits for the town versus nonprofits.
Yeah, but I'm looking for the thing that I have.
I'm for Mikey's May because it gives us leeway.
Yeah, just also on the other hand, don't want people to like the select board to say, well, actually, for this political gathering, we can charge you a fee. Yeah, because we don't like your political views or something.
I would just leave it. That's
Yeah,
I-
it's nitpicking, but it also we can't.
Well, you wanna, we
under our
wanna tweak
policy
it every so often.
charge
So
for-
I would,
I would like the leeway to charge for large nonprofits.
we don't have any
Nonprofit,
large
not-for-profit.
nonprofits.
I mean, I think that
we could
leeway
just
is.
write exempt. We could just take not-for-profit events out of exempt for fees.
Well,
and
there's.
exempt them, but in the future, people might get lost. I mean, I think Kathleen's right in a way, but also I think we might need to think about it. That's all.
Okay, all right, we'll pick that up when we talk about fees soon.
That's the only problem that I had with the
Okay,
policy.
anybody want to adjourn? You ready to adjourn?
You still have 10 minutes.
Did I say, I have 10 minutes, yeah.
Yes, you do, Madam
But
Chair.
don't you have to go?
What did we decide about the May?
The May?
The May that Michael proposed.
I mean, that is the easiest way to deal with it. It's just that
We were gonna talk about fees at our other meeting, at
Okay.
our future meeting.
the
All right.
problem I have with May would just be that we could or a select board in the future could decide they want to charge a political gathering because they don't agree with the politics or something. You know, not that they would or could, but just they could. Like, I like that some of these things are exempt from fees, but also if we wanted to charge Oyster Fest for the days, even if it was like whatever, $500 a day or whatever it may be. Right now, our policy says they're exempt. I
It
don't know
may
if we
be
can make
that.
an exception
right.
to that.
It may be that we craft a specific policy just for Oyster Fest.
Yeah, maybe something like that, or say,
Going into the future.
You know.
I mean, just for Oyster Fest.
More than one day festivals.
You know, if it's a 2-day thing,
Yeah.
we'll make some sort of arrangements with SPAT to, this is what we're going for.
So it's interesting, because I have I wonder if I have an old policy, but it doesn't say anything about, it says exempt from fees, town departments, not-for-profits, town committees. It doesn't say anything about political gatherings, so I've got to go home and look that up. Where's that?
You're looking at the second page of the policy, and what Mike is looking at.
Yeah,
on
is he's
on
looking at the
page.
fees.
But that's all in the packet I gave you in your mailbox.
Yeah, I know, I'm
So,
trying
but
to quickly
they're all
look.
current and the same. So if you flip up that page that you just had your finger on.
Yeah,
Janet,
Yeah.
there's precedent
You're looking
in,
under section 3rd, the nature of the organization and its relationship to the town. and Michael is reading from exempt.
Well, they should be consistent. And the
Yeah, that's
narrative
what- yeah.
under third, the
Okay,
nature
there
of
it
the
is.
organization distinguishes between nonprofits, not-for-profits formed solely to support town government operations, such as the PTA, library, etc. Qualifier for a reduced fee or no fee. Not-for-profit organizations formed to support a specific segment of the community or region, as opposed to directly supporting town operations, would pay a larger fee
Okay.
than not-for-profits
Yeah,
would.
Yeah,
that's
there,
fine.
that's what covers it, good,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. I'm happy with that. So,
Well, it's inconsistent.
no,
Well, let's all
Not
go home
really.
and read it
it's not
again.
really, because what you
I'll
just
ask-
read.
Helen to fix it.
Yeah, good idea. And she did have a typo in her letter,
Yeah, she did.
That's how I knew
sick.
she wasn't feeling well.
yes.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
There's an
Thank you.
enthusiastic,
Whew,
an
got this
enthusiastic
done.